yes, we are discussing what are you going to write about. The writing, the literary analysis essay. Yes, dear.
I wanted to ask you, I already like somehow wrote it, but I want to ask you if the structure was correct. Miss, I wrote, like Legend said as well, the imagery. And for each paragraph, I try to give an example and explain it. Like in a
Yes.
way. Is it fine?
Yes.
Like, is it enough for 3 bodies? I'm talking about 3 types of imageries.
Yes, great.
Miss,
Thank you, Miss.
Welcome.
Miss, if
Yes.
I want to write in the bodies, I chose 2 bodies for imagery, and the third one, for example, I wrote about foreshadowing. Is it fine, or I shall stick on one thing?
No, as you want. We said we can talk about more than one thing. It's okay.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Welcome, dear.
Teacher,
Yes, dear.
can we mention more than one example?
Yes.
Like there is no
Yes.
number for the
Yeah,
example.
actually, he wants more than one. He wants 2. In each body, he wants 2.
But
2
teacher, I
examples.
mentioned about maybe 3. I don't know.
It's okay.
It's
He
fine.
wants more than 2.
Okay, thank you.
Miss, one is enough for.
1 is okay.
Okay.
Yes. So I prepared some. We will start with the writing today, and next period will be vocabulary. Okay. I will share with you here. This look. I'll share this essay here. It is a literary analysis about the Lord of the Rings. Have you seen the Lord of the Rings?
No.
It's a novel like Harry Potter, or like it has been formed into a movie of many, as I think three parts, I think. Anyway, so the Lord of the Rings, and here is how he wrote an literary analysis to analyze the Lord of the Rings. So let's see, what did he say? Before anything, is Lynn here? Lynn Ammar here? Lynn Ammar and Lynn Ayad, are you here? Lynn Ammar?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Lynn Ammar is here, right?
Yes.
Lynn Ayad?
Miss,
Yes.
can I please go to the bathroom quickly?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, is Rama here? Zaina here? Okay. So, Joanna. Joanna? Joanna? Rima?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Rima. Read, ya Rima, the essay.
Okay, just a second. Okay. Some stories can affect people emotionally, but once in a while, a story can call a person to escape it. The Lord of the Rings is an enchanting story.
So here, girls, Rima, I will stop you to analyze.
It's okay.
So he started, how did he start? Some stories can affect people emotionally. So what did he do?
Grab attention.
Grabbing. Here is a grabbing attention to the reader. And then, continue, Rima.
With masterful use of setting and sensational characters that engages readers and can move them to experience life in a deeper way.
Okay.
As a
So
child,
here, The Lord of the Rings, the title of the story, or novel he is analyzing, is an enchanting story with masterful use of setting and sensational characters that engage readers and can move them to experience life in deeper way. So he will discuss what? He want to mention the setting and the character, sensational character. As a child, J.R.R. Tolkien is what? The author. So here he mentioned the title, the author, here, title, and then author, and lived in Africa until his father passed away. His mother moved to England and made certain to all her children learn literature and language. It was probably due somehow to his mother's influence that Tolkien became who he was, the author and linguist. So here, girls, where is the thesis statement? Where is the thesis statement, if you can get me? He would talk about his R.R. Tolkien and his mother.
Yeah.
What is this thesis statement? Here is the thesis statement. Teacher, he wrote it at the beginning of the paragraph, not at the beginning of the paragraph. He wrote it in the middle of the paragraph. And it is good, but we say that we can write it at the end, so we focus on it. So how did he write the thesis statement? Look at it. He didn't say, I think. He didn't say, what do you think? He didn't talk about himself. He didn't talk to the reader. He said it in a clear statement. Lord of the Rings is an enchanting story with masterful use of setting and sensational characters. So what are the two things he's going to talk about? Setting, sensational characters. Okay? Okay,
Yes.
continue, Rima.
Where, like, you read like the first paragraph. Where should I?
Okay, continue the second.
Okay. Tolkien had a special interest in obscure languages, even to the point of creating his own. He called it High Elven, and often in his stories he used the language. Tolkien also invented an entire world called Middle Earth, where the Lord of the Rings takes place. Because he had invented this world, it had to bow to his will and rules. He was an accomplished linguist, and this greatly helped his ability to vividly portray and create in the reader's mind Middle Earth, a place that no person had ever been.
Yes, so here he also talk about the, so this is the first body paragraph. He talked about the language. He didn't mention the language in the city in the thesis, but he talked about it here. So here he had a special. Here is the main topic, because for each paragraph I have a main idea, a main topic, a main sentence. So here is it: a special interest in obscure language. So this is what he wants to say. He uses in obscure language. How did I know? That he called it High 11, and often his stories had used the language. He invented the entire word called Middle Earth. So he invented it. This is supporting the claim. Okay. And because he had invented this word, he had to bow to the word that it had to bow to his will and rules. He was an accomplished linguist. Linguist is a scientist in linguistics, okay, or a doctor in linguistics. And he's greatly helped his ability to vividly portray. He portrayed and create in the reader's mind Middle Earth. So this is to support my claim. Number 2, Charles define. Okay, Rima, continue.
Charles defines setting as the place and time of the story. Also, according to charters, when the writer locates the narrative in a physical setting, the reader is moved along step by step towards acceptance of the fiction.
Thank you. Thank you, dear. Ragad, are you here?
Teacher,
Yes.
Miss, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Teacher, in the introduction, you said we don't talk to the reader, but Miss, sometimes we start like with a question and
Yes, it's okay.
fine?
Yani the grabbing is okay.
Okay. So Miss, I may use that like twice. Is it fine? But like only in the introduction. But then
Okay. I prefer that you change the way you grab the eyes of the reader. Instead of a question, you can say quote, a statement, fact. Okay, I prefer, but as you want.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, dear. Ragad? Najwa?
Yes.
Yes, reading Najwa from here. Talking, sitting.
Talker settings give the reader a sense of goodness and malevolence. Unlike an environmental that is removed from the work, talking setting sometimes is the story. Possibly, the setting could even tell the story if there were no characters. For example, in the House of Eltrond the Elves.
Look, girls, when he says what here, he will talk about the setting as we agree at the beginning. He say setting gives the reader sense of goodness and malevolence, unlike an environment that is removed from the work. His setting is the story. Sometimes his setting is the story. The setting could even tell the story if there were no characters. See the importance of setting? The setting could even tell the story if there were no characters. Okay? Continue.
Frodo's experience is defined by setting. He found his friends sitting in a porch on the side of the house looking east. Shadows had fallen into the valleys below, but there was still a light of the faces of the mountains far above. The air was warm, the sound of running and falling water was loud, and the evening was filled with a faint scent of trees and flowers, as if summer still lingered in Elnard's gardens.
Yes, so here are what supporting the claim that the setting is very important. He gives examples of the novel about using the setting. How using the settings, what this does what continue, dear? Continue from her, Najwa.
This describes a peaceful place that is not quite reality. The rest of the world is moving into winter, but Elnard's garden haven't realized that yet. Next is another example of how Tolkien uses setting to create a picture that could not be obtained by just explaining the sensory. Tolkien's is able.
Yes.
The what?
Yes, scenery.
The scenery. Sorry. Tolkien is able to bring a place to life with words. We can see this when
Look at this. He brings a place to life with words. Also, he still talks about the setting. He brings a place to life with words. See the beauty of the expression?
Yes.
Continue.
Fellowship winds up going through the minds of Moria.
Yes.
Continue.
So now he said that there. Look, he didn't say I will give you an example. No, he said next is another example of how Tolkien uses setting to create picture. Hi, say to them, hi girls.
Hi girls.
Hi Julie. They say hi Julie.
Hi.
So continue, Nash. Continue reading the example.
The company spent that
how he
night.
supports.
The company spent that night in the great cavernous hall, huddled close together in a corner to escape the draught. There seemed to be a steady inflow of chill air through the eastern archway. All about them, as they lay, hung the darkness, hollow and immense, and they were oppressed by the loneliness and vastness of the dolven halls and endlessly branching stairs and passages. The wildest imaginings that dark rumor had even suggested to the hobbits fell altogether short of the actual dread and wonder of Moria.
So see how he brought examples of the story? Why? To support how he uses the setting to convey the message, to strengthen the story, to give a greater picture to the reader. You understand, girls?
Yes.
Thank you, Najwa. Thank you, Hab.
But teacher?
Yes, dear.
Sometimes, like, there are long examples. Do we mention them or can we just mention the lines?
No, mention them.
But sometimes, like, the page that was talking about Tanimoto, how did he reacted? It was like a whole page.
No, not all of them. يعني like 2 or 3, not more than this.
Okay. So is it okay to mention only the lines, like from line?
No, you mention what because I will not go back to the lines.
Okay.
You mention the examples and you mention the lines.
Okay.
Thank you حبيبتي. لوجين.
Yes, miss. This description is one of the dread and fear, but like the experience at Elrond's house, it's filled with word pictures. It tells the reader that this place is terrible and that some evil is afoot. Of course, Tolkien received criticism, as all writers do. For instance, Burton Raphael takes the opinion that his Tolkien's descriptions often fail to create sense impressions, neither to make language more deeply felt and more deeply worked. Raphael also claimed that Tolkien's nature descriptions are frequently somewhat overwrought. Still, I maintain that Tolkien's extraordinary
Here,
ability to
girls. Here he mentioned himself, but we do not want to do it. We want to avoid it. He can say without I maintain he's still Tolkien's extraordinarily ability to paint a picture with words takes the reader into a place. Here, there is no need to write I maintain. Okay, so he says yes. Read Judy from Tolkien's. Read Judy. Sorry, Lujane.
Tolkien's extraordinary ability to paint a picture with words takes the reader into a place they've never been and still manages to keep them following the story. The characters that Tolkien artfully created
After he mentioned the setting, he would talk about the first part he discussed, or he mentioned that this is a thesis, which is the characters. Okay? So let's see what will he say about the characters.
Accent the setting and bring them further to life. This is an attribute to a great setting. Characters explain that setting must also have a dramatic use. It must be shown.
Must also have a dramatic. All of these girls, you can use it, and you can use these expressions in your writings to bring the setting brings the story alive. Setting talks without the characters. Setting must also have dramatic use. Continue, Luja.
It must be shown or at least felt to affect character or plot. All through The Lord of the Rings, the setting is imposing feelings onto the characters, e.g. fear, dread, peacefulness. Must I continue?
Yes, okay, thank you, Luja. Thank you, حبيبتي Sarah.
Yes, miss.
My sister is
Okay, great.
sleeping a lot.
Okay. Yes, Sarah, continue, Sarah, from Charles Describes.
Okay. Charters describe characters in literature Charles describes characters in literature as the people who make something happen or produce an effect, and explains that the characters must come alive. Characters 1006.
Yes, characters must come alive. This is only a good expression to use in your writings.
Tolkien receives criticism on his characters by Raphael as well. Raphael feels that there is too little.
Who is Raphael? Raphael is a critic who criticizes novels. Raphael is a critic who criticizes novels.
Raphael feels that there is too little meaningful truth about human reality and our existences in Tolkien's characters. Catherine Crabb seems to disagree with this statement. In her efforts to describe the characters as heroic, she also shows as they have some very modern human characteristics. Crabb says that Frodo is neither stronger than most men nor braver than most. He is selfless in his love for his companions. If there is not enough meaningful truth about human reality in Tolkien's writing, then maybe it's because he portrays a picture of ordinary people at their best. The heroes in The Lord of the Rings do not succumb to evil. They do not inadvertently get caught doing good. They are selfless. Isn't this exactly humanity at its best?
Yes.
But
So here he talks about what, girls?
the criticism
Yes, of characters. Of the characters. So here the main 2 points, setting and characters.
Characters.
Yes.
Should I complete this?
Yes.
Middle Earth is a place where the spirituality of a person is closely connected to the reality of the person. Tolkien's characters are not mere people. Each has a position and job in the universe as well, something to make them heroic and larger than life, right down to Sam, whose purpose it would seem is to guard and protect his master. This is evident throughout the books, but especially at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, when Sam, now understanding that just that might lie ahead, insists on going with Frodo 397. The characters show that not just anyone is able to complete this quest. It requires a specific person for each job. For example, there's a reason that Tom Bombadil.
So look, here he says the character shows that it's not just anyway. And for example, and he gives examples.
There's a reason that Tom Bombadil cannot take the ring, even though he impervious to its power. To 259, fate has chosen Frodo. In so doing, Tolkien creates a story that even the average person can relate to. It propels people to see the possibilities of greatness amongst the commoners, commoners, and restores our hope in the great ones. Almost anyone can find at least one hero among the fellowship.
Yes, so here he supports his opinion about the characters. Of course, it is a very long one, but I prefer to bring it for you so you understand more. Thank you, Sarah. Layan Maghrabi?
Yes, Miss.
Yes.
One of the things that makes Lord of the Rings so compelling is the way the setting and characters work together to produce the ultimate.
Here we are reading what, Layan?
There, he's talking about how the setting.
Here he mentioned the setting and character again. Here he does what? This is which part of the essay?
The conclusion.
Yes, dear, excellent. Restate what he has said at the beginning in a different words.
Yes. The characters make the setting even more potent. As the external setting influences each character, the reader sees how the struggle becomes internal. We are led to believe that the characters are closely connected to the earth.
You can say instead of we are, readers led to believe that the characters are closely connected to the earth.
Yes. The diversity of the setting and characters simply propels us to see the uniqueness of each place. Where a group of caves might give us one thought, hearing Gimel discuss the majesty of his cave experience helps us to appreciate the diversity of the group, to see it through a cave dweller's eyes. These are not holes, said Gimli. This is the great realm and the city of Dwarrodel, and of all that was not darksome but full of light and splendor, as it's still remembered in our songs. 307.
Yes.
Do I continue?
Yes. The Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings is essentially a story about the struggle of good versus evil. The setting helps the story personify the difficulties the characters face. The characters go through the trials and share their feelings of fear and triumph with us. The two work together to make an excellent portrayal of external and internal struggles.
What are the two? The setting and characters.
That yields an otherwise impossible effect.
Yes. And then he mentioned what at the end, Fatima? What is this?
Yes, Miss.
What is this?
Like I want the name.
Yes, the site. From where he brought his information. From where he brought his examples. From where. So he has to mention from where.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, I also have a question. If we search something, can we add some examples, or we have to write from the book only?
No, you are free to write anything, dear. Any novel you've read before, any story, any movie, anything.
Any story?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any story. To analyze any story.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Welcome, dear. Any novel you've read before, guys?
Miss, teacher, for take information from Google.
Yes, yes. Now here he mentioned sites. From where he brought sites? From Google. But you mentioned
Teacher,
sites.
teacher, how do we choose a title?
Up to your topic. See here. What is the title here? Who asked about the title, girls?
Noor
Yes,
Bilal.
dear. Yes.
Here I
What
read
is the
that
title here?
Chopin's
The new one.
Artistry Story of an Hour.
Yes. Chopin's artistry. Artistry is skillfulness. Okay. So Chopin's skillfulness in the story of an hour.
Okay. Thank you, ma.
Okay. Welcome, dear. So Noor, read ya Noor. This is the second essay. Read it.
Yes. To be in conflict with traditional society's beliefs is difficult for many to do. However,
So here he grabbed the eyes without mentioning himself or the reader or anything.
However,
State.
author Kate Chopin fight that battle to bring readers some of the most thought-provoking literature that a person can get their hands on, using to her advantage
Look at
convention.
this. Bring readers some of the most thought-provoking literature that a person can get their hands on. Look at the expression. Yes.
Using to her advantage conventions of narrative stories such as character development, plot control, and irony, she is able to bring the reader into a world of emotion that society would scoff at. Kate Chopin demonstrates her incredible literary talent in The Story of an Hour by interconnecting the plot and character development with her use.
So where is the thesis statement?
Using to her advantage conventions of narrative.
Read it again, Yanur, from Kate.
Kate Chopin demonstrates?
Yes.
Kate Chopin demonstrates her incredible literary talent in The Story of an Hour by interconnecting the plot and character development with her use of thought-provoking vocabulary and narrative irony.
So she will discuss what? Plot, character development, vocabulary, narrative irony. Okay, let's see how would she discuss them. Continue, Noor.
Kate Chopin's literary talent would have never been so strongly founded if it was not for the circumstances surrounding her life and upbringing. Her father died when she was only 4 years old, which left her mother and grandmother to raise and shape her desires and ideologies. Carter's 156. Having been raised primarily by strong-willed feminine role models, Chopin developed a taste for more of an unconventional role for women in society. In her hometown of St. Louis, she became known as the town's littlest rebel. She was widowed and left with 6 children to bring up on her own. This situation developed more of her strong will to write about the passion and strength that women have. Much of her writing portrays women in their relations with men, children, and their own sexuality. Her writing is classified in the literary movement known as realism. The realism movement took place in the 19th century. Realism is based on everyday events, slice of life stories that depict ordinary people dealing with society and its forces on living. Realistic writing is characterized with everyday events.
Yes.
Everyday events. Social controversy and protagonists, antagonists, protagonists and antagonist interactions. There is often an ironic undertone to realism.
Ironic undertone to realism.
As is evident in the story.
Here is an evident to what she wants to talk about.
All of the characteristics of the realism movement mentioned are active in this story. An example of realism in this story of the story of an hour is evident when Mrs. Mallard's sister reveals to her tragic.
She brought an example of the story to support her claim. Continue.
It was his sister It was her sister Josephine who told her, in broken sentences, veiled hints that revealed in half concealing. This brings out the slice of life quality of realism because it is a display of how most people would break the news of a shocking death. Chopin enjoyed life and believed that real fiction was and is life. Although she felt like a literary outcast, her frankness and honest look at women and their emotions in what makes the story of an hour and her other works literary jewels in our society today.
Yes, thank you, dear. Thank you, Noor. Noor Yusuf.
Yes, Chopin
Yes,
does a
good.
great job at two of the controversial of narrative fiction, plot and character development. The plot of the story is the sequence of events in a story and their relation to one another as they develop and usually resolve a conflict. Within the plot of a narrative story, there is an
Here she will talk
exposition.
about what?
The plot.
Plot. Excellent.
There is an exposition raised to action.
Yes, there is exposition, the entering of a story, rise to action, climax, and fall from action. This is the mountain of the novel. Exposition and meet the character, and setting and meet the character. Actions, rise to action till I reach the climax, and then I fall. Falling actions till the resolution.
The character development is the other convention that enables Chopin to write this thought-provoking story. Character is what stays with you after you finish reading it.
Look at this. This is great. You can use it. What stays with you after you have finished reading it. So if you want to discuss the characters, you can use this. Yes.
The action of the plot is performed by the characters in the story, the people who make something happen or produce an effect. Chopin uses her character development to enchant the plot in order to bring the character closer to the emotion of the story. In the story of an hour, both of these elements are vitally interconnected to each other.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Noor. Okay, girls, and here he will continue, and at the end he will mention work sites. Girls, do you have any question about literary analysis? Because today I will create the final draft. Do you have anything to ask about it?
So must be free about writing.
Yes, any novel you want. That's why I didn't stick to the grammar book, because it's only about the poem. So you can analyze everything you want.
Yes.
Anything. Okay?
Yes, miss, but can you bring some information